Operations research emerged during World War II as an important means of assisting civilian and military leaders in making improvements in the design and performance of weapons and equipment. These techniques were soon extended to address questions of tactics and strategy during the war and after the war for matters of high-level political and economic policy. Modern operational research originated in the UK in 1937 and resulted in Rose analyzing and improving the UK's early warning radar system. George Danzig created ways to make logistics and training schedules better in the United States. During World War II, around 200 operational research scientists worked to better the British Army. The man who was at the forefront of this was Patrick Blanquette, who worked for several organizations during the war. Blanquette created a team called Blanquette Circus while he worked for the Royal Aircraft Embellishment. This team helped reduce the number of anti-aircraft artillery rounds needed to shoot down an enemy aircraft from 20,000 to 4,000. Operational research groups help close the gap between new technology and weapons developed and their use in actual conditions of war. The problem is that the Americans and British intended on D-Day and D+1 to land over 20,000 vehicles and over 170,000 personnel. The vehicles included 1,500 tanks, 5,000 other traced fighting vehicles, 3,000 guns of all types, and 10,000 other vehicles from jeeps to bulldozers, using 6,933 naval vessels and 1,100,000 aircrafts. Staging the equipment, supplies, and soldiers for the invasion without letting the enemy know was a difficult task. Determining how to get all of the transportation, equipment, and men to the shore was a simple solution. Load the boats and go. The efficiency and loading of all the equipment and getting it to the front in a specific order was the challenge. Not to mention unloading under fire and advancing this stuff off the beachhead. All of this plus the knowing that many ships and men may not even make it to shore and would be lost at sea. This too plays into the OR decision-making and planning. Originally, a small staff planned for the operation, but this group grew to contain over 31,000 officers and 350,000 enlisted personnel. These personnel worked problems such as supply, distribution, packing, shipping, and getting the supplies to England and then to France. By July 1943, some 750,000 tons of supplies were poured through English ports each month, and this amount steadily increased until June 1944, where 1,009,000 tons were received from the United States. By this time of the invasion, there was a full 2,500,000 tons of supplies to be transported. By June, the number of U.S. Army troops in the United Kingdom had risen from 241,000 at the end of 1942 to over 1 million. This operation is the largest maritime operation ever to be put into action by military planners. After the primary objective and concerns were determined, the OR team offered suggestions for the execution of the plan. Of these recommendations, some were unifying the Army, Navy, and Air Force under one command. The loading of ships should be completed so that loss of one or more to enemy forces would not deprive landing forces of the essential weapons, vehicles, or supplies, and the commander of the ship should make the decisions as to the loading and unloading of the ship. Many more decisions were made too. OR was able to determine that the landing craft that the U.S. was using was not efficient. Therefore, the U.S. and the OR worked together to develop a new landing craft for the invasion. This design is still in use today. Despite the incredible amount of planning prior to D-Day, the operation itself ended up vastly different than conceived. Stormy weather, failed technology, and human error led to many unforeseen circumstances. Transportation problems have always been in the forefront of military planning, but they were deemed inevitable until Blanquette Circus looked at the issue with operational research. This optimized output efficiency in battle. The use of linear programming, integer programming, and network flow models, to mention a few, were developed, refined, and put into use in almost every level, branch, and discipline of the military. These OR solutions affected millions of people: soldiers, generals, factory workers, women, and even children. It is unknown, but it is estimated that over 1 million people had a part in the D-Day invasion in some capacity behind the scenes. The development of operational research in military has improved the efficiency, mobility, tactics, and operations of fighting a war. The sheer amount of supplies that were required to support those who landed on the beaches of France was a direct result of the work of OR and to help bring a quicker end to the war. OR streamlined the operation, assured that needed supplies were available and delivered, helped to reduce losses, and accomplish the objective. It was proven that operational research is an important part of all aspects of military planning.